Okay, it looks like we're live. Thank you everybody for joining the stream. I'll I am just I'm back. I'm Jake with the Moonlitghost, and I'm back. And I haven't promoted this channel in a long time. I haven't promoted this stream. I'm not doing anything crazy or weird. The goal of this is I just want to document every single strange thing ever. And so I'm just gonna, and I figured I could just do that kind of live, and if people jump on and want to see what I'm reading about and researching about, then you can join. And you can also email me right there at themoonlitghost@gmail.com if you have an interesting, strange story to tell, or if you just want to say hi. I'll read your email, and maybe I'll read it live. Excuse me. I start live and then I immediately get a frog in my throat. But thank you everybody for supporting the channel. I am just going to start reading. The goal of the channel. Read strange stories on the internet of this live stream, and read user submitted stories if you want to email me a story. And I'm going to live stream every single day this week. Should have had a water bottle rubber. And the goal of this specific live stream is to get one viewer. I haven't promoted this. I didn't put the link out anywhere. But if one person jumps on, then I'll be a happy camper. And I'm going to stream for about 30 minutes till about 8 o'clock p.m. my time. I'm in Weed, California. And if I get 10 viewers, I'm hoping for just one viewer, honestly. I know that's really kind of pathetic. I have like almost 6,000 subscribers, and I get like 18 views on my videos. But if I get 10 viewers on this stream, then I'll go for an hour to 8:30. If I get 50 viewers, I go for 2 hours. Why not? But yeah, let's just get started. It looks like we already had one concurrent viewer. Looks like they jumped on and left. So I just have right here, we're going to jump in with some strange unsolved mysteries of all time. We're just going to click this link right here. And kind of just go down these. This is from readersdigest.com. They outline just some. We're just gonna go broad and get some of the strangest mysteries that are easily available on the internet, and then I'm going to slowly continue to hone in on more specific, stranger details. So let's just read this. It looks like we've got one viewer on right now. Yeah, let me know. Thank you for joining the stream. Comment, let me know who you are, and if you have a strange story to tell, I don't know, look at the email me at the Moonlitghost if you have a strange story. These unexplainable mysteries are real-life cliffhangers. Have you heard? Maybe I'll turn that creepy music down a little bit. Have you heard about the strangest unsolved cases of all time? Scientists and detectives can't quite crack these unexplainable mysteries, which include peculiar disappearances, strange crimes, animals behaving bizarrely, and encounters with not quite human beings. We dug deep to uncover the latest facts on these real-life riddles. Read on to find out what's known about these chilling cold cases and what may remain a secret forever. Okay. So the incident at Dyatlov Pass. I did a video on Dyatlov Pass. It was one of my favorite videos that I ever researched on, but it was also one of the most disappointing for my viewers because I promised a part 2, and I really wanted to get a part 2 out, and I started researching and writing for it. But this was one of the cases where I was just like so invested in this story, and I got really into the characters, the people, the real life people who were involved in this story. And it was just, I got too involved in it. I was so emotionally involved in what was going on in these people's lives that it was hard for me to separate myself from them and just be me. It looks like we've got 2 concurrent viewers. Thank you guys for jumping on. Comment, let me know who you are. I'm grateful you're here. And reach out at themoonlightghost@gmail.com if you have a strange story to tell. But we're talking about the Dyatlov Pass right now. Let me know what you know about these guys. And you can check out my video that I did on them a while back. And the reason it was so disappointing, I don't want to do that, is because shortly after I made that video, I got into a mental state of mind, and a lot of other things were going on in my life that I was not able to produce a part 2 to my Dyatlov Pass video, and I disappointed a lot of people, and I disappointed myself. But I loved that video that I made. Search the Moonlitghost Dyatlov Pass and let me know what you think. We got, is that Gene Cena? I hope I'm saying that right. I'm doing wonderful tonight. I'm glad you're on the live stream. I'm not doing anything special on this live stream. I'm not reacting to videos, because if I'm watching a video and they have like music in their background that my channel isn't licensed, then that can be a problem for my YouTube channel. So I'm just reading strange stories that I find on the internet. I'm doing all right. I hope that you're doing all right. I love you for jumping on. Feel free to share any stories that you might have. But otherwise, I'm just going to get into this Dyatlov Pass account. The Reader's Digest is telling me. And again, the purpose of this is to just do a broad shoot of finding strange mysteries. The incident at Dyatlov Pass. On February 1, 1959, 9 ski hikers died mysteriously in the mountains of what is now Russia. The night of the incident, the group set up camp on a slope, enjoyed dinner, and prepared for sleep, but something went catastrophically wrong. The group never returned. This is truly a heartbreaking story. It's so sad what happened, and very strange. All of the things surrounding this group. On February 26, searchers found the hikers' abandoned tent, which had been ripped open from the inside. They also discovered footprints left by the group, some wearing socks, some wearing a single shoe, some barefoot. And you can imagine they're in Russia in snow-covered mountains. And the big question is why would anybody from the inside of their tent cut out of their tent in the middle of the night and run out of their tent barefoot? And they eventually found all of them at different places, at different locations, frozen to death. And some of them were like mutilated, and it was very, very bizarre. So that's kind of the mystery. The prints continued to the edge of a nearby wood, which is where the first 2 bodies were found, shoeless and wearing only underwear. At first, the scene suggested death by hypothermia, but after medical examiners evaluated the bodies, including the other 7 discovered later, hypothermia no longer made sense. In fact, the evidence made no sense at all. One body had signs of a blunt force trauma consistent with a brutal assault. Another had 3rd-degree burns. One victim had been vomiting blood. One was missing a tongue. Some of their clothing was radioactive. Possible explanations included KGB, interference, drug overdose, UFOs, gravity anomalies, and the Russian version of the Yeti. Recently, a documentary filmmaker presented a different theory, a terrifying but real phenomenon called infrasound, in which the wind interacts with the topography to create a barely audible hum that can induce intense nausea, panic, dread, chills, nervousness, raised heart rate, and breathing difficulties. The only real consensus is that whatever happened involved an overwhelming and possibly inhuman force. We got Gene. Says the creepiest video I've ever seen was one you reacted to. It was the footage of the 2 shadow children. Just wanted to mention that. Oh yeah, that was a while ago. I really want to be able to react to videos. I just remember when I was reacting to videos, I was having a lot of like YouTube problems. People like flagging my live streams and like having music. So I need to like find some good middle ground to be able to do that again. But yeah, that was fun. So every story that I am going to read in these live streams, I really want to document. I'm going to put into my moon list, which is kind of my official accounting of all everything strange. And I want to eventually compile an encyclopedia of strange mysteries. And so that's kind of the purpose of why I'm doing this. We'll get on to the next story here. Sickening noises. Let's see. In December 2016, a CIA officer checked into the American Embassy's health office in Havana, suffering from nausea, headache, and dizziness. Days later, 2 more CIA officers reported similar ailments. By late 2018, the number grew to 26 Americans and 14 Canadian diplomats with roughly the same weird symptoms, ranging from hearing loss to nosebleeds. All the victims said that the symptoms were related to a strange noise they'd heard at their homes or hotel rooms. One noted that the noise was high-pitched. Another described a beam of sound pointed into their rooms. Some said that the noise resembled marbles rolling inside a large funnel. While the cause of these reported brain injuries was still a mystery, a fallout was clear. In October 2017, the Americans removed 60% of their diplomats from Cuba and expelled 15 Cuban diplomats from Washington, D.C. The illnesses confounded medical experts. Doctors at the University of Pennsylvania who examined some of the victims diagnosed concussion-like symptoms, but didn't find signs of concussions. You might be thinking the Cuban government was up to something, right? The Cubans vehemently denied they were responsible. Many American investigators believed them. I'm going to continue to read this story, but I just want to interject here. So there are world governments, obviously, that are responsible for a lot of shady, strange, and weird things. But there's also a lot of independent players, like war profiteers, businesses, and corporations, and very wealthy people that literally just do experiments on the public. It's super crazy. It's super unethical, but it happens all the time. I mean, it happens all the time, and it's something that that I'm sure affects world politics. It kind of makes you not want to get involved in anything kind of big, but because you never know, somebody's going to point a like a subsonic gun at your brain, and I don't know. Recordings of the sounds only added to the confusion. 2 scientists a video on that. Gene Cena, a video on that would be cool. I want to make a video on on that, and I want to make a video on like everything. Right now, I'm really kind of at the bottom of the barrel. Like I'm scratching to kind of get back into the YouTube game. I have minimal equipment. I'm literally just in an Airbnb right now, with like my mic and my laptop, and a lamp with for light. And I want to make all the videos. I really do. I just need, yeah. I'm working on it, I guess is what I'm saying. Thank you for your support. That helps. Where were we? Alexander Stubbs of the University of California, Berkeley said the insects are incredibly loud. You can hear them from inside a diesel truck going 40 miles an hour on the highway. Still, scientists had no idea how these sounds could lead to human illness. And they couldn't explain why other people who lived near the diplomats weren't affected. Maybe it was just nerves. Cuba is a high threat, high stress post. A former embassy official told ProPublica.org, diplomats are warned that there will be surveillance. There will be listening devices in your house, probably in your car. For some people, that puts them in high stress mentality in a threat anticipation mode. I don't believe that. I mean, people can deal with high stress and it doesn't like make their brains explode. True, but then how to explain what happened in China? In May 2018, an American posted in the consulate in Guangzhou was diagnosed with the very same mysterious illness. Ultimately, 15 Americans were evacuated. In 2020, a report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine concluded that the most probable cause was radiofrequency energy, a type of radiation that includes microwaves. Yeah, just shooting microwave beams at people's brains. Meanwhile, in 2023, intelligence community assessment found that the injuries were likely tied to previous injuries, stress, environmental concerns, and factors such as group psychology, in which illness symptoms reported by one individual in a community can spread serially among its members. And in 2024, 2 studies by the National Institutes of Health compared more than 80 affected people with a healthy comparison group. The results, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, showed no clinical signs or brain image indications to explain those widely varied symptoms. Yet attorney Mark Zaid, who represents current and past federal officials and their family members seeking continued medical treatment for Havana syndrome, believes that the government is knowingly weaponizing the lack of science that exists in this area and intentionally hiding behind the classification wall where much of the evidence that contradicts the results exists. The mysterious sound may well be the opening shots in a new kind of Cold War. That sounds about right to me. And it looks like at one point we had 3 concurrent viewers. Thank you. I was hoping to maybe even just get 1, but it looks like we had 3 people jump on. So yeah, let me know who you are in the comments. I really appreciate every single one of you. And if you have I just realized that you can't see my email because I'm gonna shrink this down so you can kind of see this. The moonlitghost@gmail.com. If you have any strange stories you'd like me to read live, feel free to reach out and share your story with me. I'm looking for personal stories to share, either live or in a separate video. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about that. There are microwave radio guns, and it's terrifying. And the general public is like 30 years behind what like weapons grade armories and governments have in terms of weapons and technology and stuff like that. So when you personally see what's going on, that's been going on for decades. I wish there would just be more transparency, but I guess we don't live in that kind of world. So, all right. Let's move on to the next one. The ghost ship, the Marie Celeste. This is a fun one. Not fun, but interesting, I guess. On December 4th, 1872, a British-American ship called the Marie Celeste was found empty and adrift in the Atlantic. It was seaworthy and had its cargo fully intact, except for a lifeboat, which seemingly had been boarded in an orderly fashion. But why? Like many strange ocean mysteries, we may never know the truth because no one on board was ever heard from again. In November 1872, the Marie Celeste set sail from New York bound for Genoa, Italy. She was manned by Captain Benjamin Briggs and 7 crew members, and also carried Briggs's wife and their 2-year-old daughter. The ship had plenty of supplies, including luxuries like a sewing machine and an upright piano. Experts agree that to abandon a seaworthy ship, something extraordinary and alarming must have happened. However, the last entry on the ship's daily log revealed nothing unusual, and everything inside the ship appeared to be in order. Theories over the years have included mutiny, pirate attack, and an assault by a giant octopus or sea monster. In recent years, scientists have proposed the theory that fumes from alcohol on board caused an explosion that, as a result of a scientific anomaly, did not leave behind signs of burning, but was terrifying enough that Briggs ordered everyone into the lifeboat. I don't know if I really believe that. I mean, it seems like they're basically saying that they think maybe there was an explosion, but there was because of the chemical constituents of all of the things involved. There was no signs of the ship burning. Is that what that said? Not leave behind signs of burning. That's strange. Yeah. I don't really know what to think about that. There are a number of ships that have been just abandoned and just left to drift. And it makes sense when like the spoils and everything on the ships have been like taken, because that's a sign of piracy. But when that's not the case, it's like, why? I have no idea. I'd love to investigate that one even further and to kind of see what comes of that. If anybody has any thoughts on any of these stories, yeah, just comment and let me know what you think, and I will consider. Yeah. Looks like at one point we had. Oh yeah, okay. All right, let's move on. Oh, this DB Cooper. This is a great one. Who and where's DB Cooper? On November 24, 1971, Dan Cooper was a passenger on Northwest Airlines Flight 305 from Portland to Seattle. A 30-minute flight. He was described by passengers and flight attendants as a man in his mid-40s, wearing a dark suit, black tie with a mother-of-pearl tie clip, and a neatly pressed white-collared shirt. He took a seat, lit a cigarette, and politely ordered a bourbon and soda. Imagine being the person, like being DB Cooper, having this like crazy plan and just taking your seat. I'll have a bourbon and soda, please. Shortly after takeoff, he handed a 23-year-old flight attendant a note that reportedly said, "Miss, I have a bomb and would like you to sit by me." His demands were for $200,000, worth $1.5 million today, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the plane on arrival. The flight attendant brought the demands to the captain. The airline's president authorized full cooperation. The other passengers had no idea what was happening. They were told that the landing was delayed due to mechanical difficulties. When the plane landed, an airline employee delivered a cash-filled knapsack and parachutes, and Cooper allowed all passengers and 2 flight attendants to leave the plane. During refueling, Cooper outlined his plan to the crew, a southeasterly course toward Mexico with 1 further refueling stop in Nevada. 2 hours later, the plan took off. When it landed in Reno, Cooper was no longer on the plane. Cooper, whom the media mistakenly referred to as DB Cooper, was never seen or heard from again. No parachute was found, and the ransom money was never used. But in 1980, a young boy on vacation with his family near the Columbia River. Oh, this happened in 1971. Okay. In Oregon, found several packets of the ransom money, identifiable by serial number. That surprise discovery led to an intense search of the area for Cooper or his remains. There was no sign of him. The FBI closed its case in 2016. But that wasn't the last chapter of this mystery. In 2024, that's pretty recent. How many years? 70, 80, 90, that's like 40, 50 years ago or something like that. 2 siblings came forward claiming their father, Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., was actually D.B. Cooper. McCoy Jr., a military-trained parachutist, was convicted for an eerily similar hijacking in April 1972 over Provo, Utah. I didn't know that. I lived in Provo, Utah. I've spent a number of years in Provo, Utah. Oh, which just gets into the whole Charlie Kirk thing. There was a weird plane. Oh my gosh. Better not even get into that right now, but was actually D.B. Cooper. Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. was actually D.B. Cooper. McCoy Jr., a military-trained parachutist, was convicted for an eerily similar hijacking in April 1972 over Provo, Utah. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison. He died 2 years later. While he is the most likely suspect, there is still no definitive proof that he pulled off the original heist. I just love the story of D.B. Cooper. As far as I know, nobody was hurt in that hijacking. Obviously, I don't want people to break the law. I think that would be a scary situation, but it's just intriguing how somebody did this and potentially got away with it, because we don't really know what happened to him. I know that the bills used were like marked, and at one point they thought they found some in some duffel bags in the wilderness area or something like that, but I don't know. Maybe we'll never find out really what happened, but I wish I had the time and capacity to just turn all of these stories into Moonlitghost videos. I really want to do that. Yeah. We've still got 2 people watching. I'm so like, oh no, we've got 1 person watching. Thank you for sticking with me. Like I said, I'm going to be live streaming every day this week. If you have any interesting stories, feel free to email me. Why is that doing that? Huh. Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry, I was just having some technical issues. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next mystery. If you guys have any stories or strange things, feel free to comment and I will look those up during the stream and see if there's something that I can read over the stream. Wanted to mention that footage. Okay, living statues. Oh, this ought to be interesting. From 1917 to 1928, so just over a decade, it looks like 500,000 people were afflicted with a ghastly condition that could be part of the plotline of a horror film. The victims, very much alive and conscious, found themselves in inexplicably frozen states, their static bodies prisons for their minds. 500,000 people? Encephalitis lethargica, EL, aka the sleeping sickness, first appeared in Europe and quickly spread around the world, reaching epidemic levels in North America, Europe, and India by 1919. About a third of those stricken with the illness died. Of the survivors, nearly half eventually found themselves unable to physically interact with the world around them, all the while fully aware of their surroundings. Though occasionally capable of limited speech, eye motion, and even laughter, they generally appeared as living statues, totally motionless for hours, days, weeks, or years. The cause is unknown, but one theory is brain inflammation triggered by a rare strain of Streptococcus, the bacteria responsible for many sore throats each year. You just get a sore throat and you become like, you turn into a statue, not unable to move. Science's best guess is that the bacteria mutated, provoking the immune system to attack the brain, leaving the victim helpless. None of this explains why the illness disappeared only to resurface sporadically, be it in Europe in the 1950s or in China 15 years ago when a 12-year-old girl was hospitalized for 5 weeks with the disease. Are such occurrences the new normal, or are they signs that EL could be planning something bigger any day? A 2004 analysis of 20 patients with symptoms remarkably similar to EL concluded that whatever ailed them is still prevalent. As such, history's so-called sleeping sickness remains the stuff of nightmares. That is terrifying. Jeez. Like, we live in a very strange world, and a very dangerous world, and there's a lot of weird things that can happen to people. So I guess count your blessings. Count your blessings. We got 3 people on the stream right now. Comment, let me know who you are, and if you have a story to tell, email me at themoonlitghost@gmail.com. I might read it live. Thank you for joining me. I'm just reading strange stories, so. Oh, and this should be like a Q&A. If you have any questions for me, I will answer. I'll answer your questions. Let me know what you think and what you want to know about me, and my goals and my dreams and my aspirations. Just thank you. Thank you for jumping on the stream. Let's see. All right, so this is a pretty obvious one. Everybody knows about Area 51. What is Area 51? Area 51 in southern Nevada. A lot of people confuse Roswell with Area 51. They're not the same place. Roswell is Roswell, New Mexico. That's where the alien craft crashed, and they thought it was a weather balloon. And I don't know, was that like the 60s or something like that? And Area 51 is a military base in Nevada where they have like alien technology and UFOs and Yeah, a lot of whistleblowers come out of there. Bob Lazar is one of my favorite interviews on Joe Rogan. That was an amazing interview. Before I read this, I have an interesting story, a personal story. So in 2015, I was traveling the United States and I stopped in at the Boston Science Museum. I think I've shared this story before, and I saw a cloud chamber there. And that was so fascinating to me. You get to see like you can see the trails of subatomic particles in this chamber. And I was so fascinated by this that I ended up making my own cloud chamber, and it worked. And it was so amazing. And what blew my mind is you could make it, you right now could make a cloud chamber for like less than $100 if you wanted to. And you can actually visualize, you can actually see subatomic particles, like alpha particles, beta particles. You can't see like crazier ones like neutrinos or quarks and things like that, but you can see kind of heavier particles. And they're just flying through your body all over the place. And so I made my cloud chamber. And I could see just a static background, alpha and beta particles flying through my cloud chamber. Really cool, really amazing. But I wanted to take my experiment to the next level, and so I got I got a radioactive pin. Like a needle with a tip of a little bit of radioactive material to put in my cloud chamber, and it's just like shooting off, and it looks so cool. It looks so cool. I wish I had a video up to show you guys right now, but I don't. But I got that radioactive pin from a website. It's totally legit, totally legal. I can't remember the name of it, but I got that pin. But I forgot, and I didn't realize this until like years after the fact, that the person who owned that website, I think it's like American Nuclear or something like that. The person who owned that site, I bought this pin from Bob Lazar. He's the one who owns the site and was selling the materials. And I think this was also the company that got like raided by the FBI. Maybe I shouldn't be telling this story, but yeah. So that's my connection to Bob Lazar, as loose as it might be. I bought some radioactive material from him, from my cloud chamber. And Bob Lazar, if you don't know, he's the main whistleblower out of Area 51 who claimed to work on alien spacecraft. He has a great interview on Joe Rogan. Anyway, let's read what this article has to say about Area 51. Area 51 in southern Nevada is a U.S. military base. Its very existence was unconfirmed until 2013, when the CIA was obliged. That's so recent, guys. I mean, wow. When the CIA was obliged to respond to a Freedom of Information Act requested from 2005 based on historical evidence. It appears that Area 51 supports the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons. Public satellite images, such as those available on Google Maps, don't provide insight. Even those with security clearance to visit Area 51 are transported there from Las Vegas via an airline called Janet. Yeah, there's the Janet plates that go in and out of Vegas, and I believe they're unmarked. They just have like red stripes on them, and I don't know if this is what they actually stand for, but I heard somebody say once that Janet stands for just another. I don't remember what that stands for. I don't think it actually stands for that anyway, but called Janet, which reportedly stands for Joint Air Network for Employee Transportation, on an unmarked plane that turns off its transponder before descending. The intense secrecy surrounding Area 51 has sparked rumors that the government uses it to house crashed UFOs and conduct lab tests on aliens. Other theories about what Area 51 is used for include research on time travel, research on teleportation, meetings with extraterrestrials, development of a means for weather control, and activities related to a shadowy one world government. Where these Area 51 secrets and theories come from is as much a mystery as Area 51 itself. But one thing is certain: people have a good conspiracy theory. At one point, conspiracy theorists believed the moon landing in 1969 had been faked. Hint, it wasn't. Do you think the moon landing was fake? I just comment in the live stream and let me know whether you think the moon landing was fake. I think the moon landing was real. I think they really made it to the moon. Otherwise, I think China and Russia and other those big governments would have called us out. I think they were closely monitoring our space program, and if we hadn't made it to the moon, they would have said something. But what I think, I want you to comment. Let me know if you think the moon landing was fake or not. But what I think is that we really did make it to the moon, but we also did film fake moon landing, and we had a fake moon landing set, which is the only thing to me that explains why there's so much weird moon landing footage that looks so fake, which I think maybe some of it is fake. Okay. But I genuinely do believe that we went to the moon. One reason, I think, is because they left reflectors on the moon, and you can say that, well, you point a laser at the moon and the moon is going to reflect back your laser regardless of whether reflectors are, but you can do the physics of it, you can do the math of it. And so it looks like we have another person jumping on the stream. We got a whopping 3 people on the stream right now. Comment, let me know who you are. I love you. I'm so glad you're here. We're just reading strange stories and talking about the moon landing. But you can point a laser at the moon. I don't have the equipment to do this. I do have a laser, but not one powerful enough to perform this experiment on my end. And then you can detect your own laser's reflection coming back. And unless there were reflectors on the moon, it wouldn't, the light particles would disperse too far out. But because there are reflectors that the Apollo astronauts put on the moon, they come back in an easier stream. I know it's kind of like hokey to like think, oh, well, that could be so easily faked, but I really think that there's merit to that. And I really do believe that we landed on the moon, but there's also fake moon landing footage out there. But that's way off topic. I'm talking about Area 51 and Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar claimed, he said that he was working with, there were teams of people working on alien spacecraft. And you weren't allowed to talk to other teams. You just were supposed to learn about a certain part of the spacecraft. And you could only talk with the one person you were assigned to investigate this. And what he reported is that this thing was emitting a gravitational wave that allowed it to be suspended in air. But not only that, an interesting part about this is that he said that there was somebody inside the craft who was sending radio signals outside to somebody outside the craft, which he thought, as a physicist, he thought that was impossible, and he didn't know how that was working, which it is very strange, very, very, very strange. But he did predict the use of a element on the periodic table that wasn't in existence, that we didn't know about at the time. And he said, yes, it's a real element. And then, I don't know, 20 years later, some Russian scientists found that element. So, but I don't think they have a stable version of it. And he said that the spacecraft were using stable versions of this element. I can't remember the name of the element. If you know the name of the element, comment. Let me know. Sorry, I have a tendency to ramble. Whatever. Roaming ruins. All right, let's talk about roaming ruins. It's not unusual to find junk in Brazil's Guanabara Bay. But what Robert Marks unearthed there in 1982 was an unusual kind of foreign matter. In an underwater field the size of 3 tennis courts located 15 miles from shore lay the remains of some 200 Roman ceramic jars. A few fully intact. According to Marks, a professional treasure hunter, the jars appeared to be twin-handled amphorae that were used to transport goods such as grains and wine in the 3rd century. But how did they get there? The first Europeans didn't reach Brazil until 1500. The Romans, who traded primarily in Mediterranean port cities and the Middle East, had little incentive to invest in ships that could cross oceans. However, they did sail as far as India. Perhaps some untrained navigator lost his way in a storm, or maybe mutineers steered the ship westward. We may never know, nor are we likely to uncover more evidence. Brazil closed the Bay of Jars to further research in 1983 in an effort to deter looters. Marx claims the government didn't want the area explored because finding Roman-era artifacts there would mean that, contrary to Brazil's official history, the Portuguese were not the first Europeans to reach the country. And the truth? It's resting 100 feet under the sea. So they're saying that there are Roman jars off the coasts of Brazil. Few fully intact, according to Marx. Yeah, this gets into... There seems to be a concerted effort of world governments to kind of downplay anything that goes against official history, which is very strange. I don't know why people care so much. This is like the Smithsonian covering up giant remains in North America. In like 1800s, people like all over, like settlers in America were finding like mounds full of bones of giant humans, and they would plow their fields, and they would plow up giant bones, and they would say, "Hey, look at this! Look what we found!" And then the Smithsonian would show up on their doorstep, and there's reports that the Smithsonian would show up and they just disappeared artifacts, and you never heard of them again. It's like why? And I just want to know what happened. I just want to know the truth. And there seems to be people in power who don't want us to know the truth about reality, about our history, about things. And it's so disheartening. And that's actually one of the reasons I am doing this channel. You know, this is a thankless job. I've got like 6,000 subscribers and like 18 people watch my videos, but I really want, this is me being very open and very personal at the moment. I want to know what's true. That's really my fundamental drive. I want to know the truth of ghosts, of strange cryptids. I want to know the truth behind all of these crazy conspiracy theories. I don't want to have all of these conspiracy theories be true. I just want to know what is true. And if there are forces at work keeping things concealed, I want to shed light on those things, and that's a major driving factor of why I'm doing this. It looks like we have 4 concurrent viewers, guys. Drop a comment. Let me know who you are. I really appreciate you. And let's check the email, see if anybody has shared a story. Nobody has. All right, let's get back to these stories at Roaming Ruins. I didn't know that there were Roman artifacts in Brazil. That's crazy. What is the Voynich manuscript? Okay, I haven't, before I read this, I haven't done a lot of research on the Voynich manuscript, but what I know is that it's a manuscript that we don't know really where it came from, and hasn't been translated. We don't know what it says. It seems to be written in a unknown script, which, for all the downfalls of puppies shooting bazookas at old ladies with AI videos, we should be able to use AI to help translate these scripts, and that goes for like a lot of Sumerian clay tablets and things along those lines. And I'm so excited about AI, the positive use of AI to be able to translate all of this stuff, but at the same time, I'm like terrified that the powers that be will utilize AI to further continue suppressing information and distorting reality. And when to be clear, you and I live in a spiritual world. There are such a things as ghosts, spirits, angels, and demons. It's true. I've seen my fair share of them with my waking eyes. And we live in a dark, fallen world. There are so many dark things. And when you live in a reality that is dictated by falsehood, it fundamentally augments your brain in ways that you don't even think about it. Like you just don't even know how you're being influenced. And and on one hand, it keeps you in ignorance, thinking that you know what your life is and what you're doing, but it does more than that. When you are living your life based, not because you're lying, not because you're being deceitful, but when everything around you is impacting your life and it's just a facade. It's like the Truman Show. It affects your soul. It affects your soul in ways that are very deep, profound, and fundamental. And it can play a very strong part in mental illness and why people, because what happens is that there are some people who are intuitively able to kind of see beyond the veil, and they get glimpses of truth, of what deeper reality is. And oftentimes that will clash with the current narrative. And it creates this cognitive dissonance that just is devastating, and it's heartbreaking. And I've seen it, and it's so painful. Okay. The Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is a roughly 250-page book written in an entirely unknown language writing system. It's been carbon dated back to the 1400s and includes illustrations of plants that don't resemble any known species. Oh, that's interesting. Named for the Polish book dealer who purchased it in 1912. It is believed to have been intended as a medical text. Its first confirmed owner was George Barashk, 1585-1662, an alchemist from Prague who discovered it taking up space uselessly in his library. That's a quote. So he's like, it's uselessly taking up space in my library. Barashk tried to investigate the manuscript's origins to no avail. The manuscript changed hands for centuries until it was purchased by Voynich, who posited that it was authored by Albertus Magnus, an alchemist, or Roger Bacon, an early scientist. However, some believe that Voynich fabricated the manuscript and its history all by himself. Oh, that would be kind of disappointing. Various other hoaxes have been proposed over the years, of course. That wouldn't explain the carbon dating of the paper and ink. Centuries after its first alleged discovery, the Voynich manuscript remains as impenetrable and inexplicable as ever. That's an interesting one. I think that we could use AI to help solve that mystery. Honestly, that would be amazing. That would be so flippin' cool. I honestly did not even think we would get 3 viewers. Thank you. So yeah, drop a comment. Let me know who you are. We're just reading strange stories. And let me reiterate the purpose in this. I'm live streaming every day this week. Just gonna try to do some interesting things every day on live stream. I'm gonna set clear goals. The goal for this one was to just get one viewer. I've done that. I got 4. I'm like excited about 4 viewers. Thank you guys for jumping on and helping with that. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to document every single strange mystery the world has ever seen. That includes ghosts, that includes histories, mysteries, conspiracy theories, Bigfoot, everything and anything. Yeah, let me know what you think about that, and give me some other things to read and look at in maybe tomorrow's live stream. I've got one suggestion about the 2 shadow children. Maybe we'll read some stories about shadow children on the next live stream from Gene Cena. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Forgive me if I'm not. And I just want to document all these strange cases. Email me at themoonlitghost@gmail.com if you have a strange story, or if you want me to read something live, or just to say hi. Thank you. All right, on to the next mystery. This is 9 of 19. So I think we're just going to get through this list. Maybe we won't even get through this list. How long was I going to live stream for? Stream for 30 minutes. When did I start? Okay. Do the Pollock sisters prove reincarnation? Before I read this, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about reincarnation. Reincarnation is something I think about pretty often. I have been trying to figure out if that's really a thing, and I'm so back and forth on it. I don't really know. But what do you guys think about reincarnation? Do the Pollock sisters prove reincarnation? Roughly 33% of Americans believe in reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation? Let me know in the comments. Although scientists tend to poo-poo the possibility, scientists poo-poo the possibility of life after death. So reincarnation implicitly requires that you believe that the soul is like eternal and continues to go on after death. So that's kind of a strange thing to say. Every once in a while, an unsolved mystery comes around that is so compelling and otherwise unexplainable that it gives even scientists pause. That is what we have in the story of the Pollock sisters. In 1957, 2 young English sisters, Joanna Pollock, 11, and is that Jocelyn Pollock, 6, oh man, died in a tragic car accident. 1 year later, their mother gave birth to twins, Jillian and Jennifer. When the twins were old enough to talk, they began identifying and requesting toys that had belonged to their dead sisters, pointing out landmarks only their dead sisters would have known, such as a school they'd attended, and sometimes panicking upon seeing cars idling. That car is coming to get us, they reportedly shrieked on one occasion. After the twins turned 5, these incidents incidents became less frequent and the girls went on to lead normal lives. Still, the story of the Pollock sisters made its way to Ian Stevenson, MD, 1918 through 2007, a psychiatrist and professor at the University of Virginia who studied reincarnation. After investigating thousands of supposed cases, Dr. Stevenson wrote a book describing 14 of them he believed to have been real, including that of the Pollock sisters. I don't know if reincarnation is real or not. I know that the spirit goes on. I don't know how that works out in the afterlife. If, let's just say that the Pollock sisters is a true case of reincarnation, when there's a lot of near-death experiences, and oftentimes what people will report when they have near-death experiences is that they will see their loved ones who have passed on, there to be there with them in heaven or what have you, and to comfort them and to be there in the afterlife. But if this woman had these two girls who died, and then those two girls' spirits came back as twins, then when that mother dies, like in the afterlife, does that mean she doesn't have 4 children? 4 girls? She's only got 2? That's why I don't know. I think every individual has their own unique spirit and their own unique body. So I'm really kind of on the fence about reincarnation, and I think this might be a case. And actually, I've thought about this in, but what do you think about reincarnation? Oh, hello, Emily. We've got 1 concurrent viewer. We had 4 at one time, but it looks like Emily's on right now, holding the show on her shoulders here. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I kind of think that I don't know, but it seems to me like when people have reincarnation memories or memories of past lives and things like this, I think they might be not necessarily remembering past lives of themselves, but they might be witnessing, they might have residual memories in their body or their brain, and they might be experiencing memories of things that have happened to their ancestors, unique individuals, and they might misinterpret them as their own past life. And to me, that seems like a more plausible scenario, because that maintains the consistency of having your own unique body with your own unique soul, and also kind of falling in line with our scientific understanding of, I'm not a scientist or a biologist, so you can correct me, but my understanding of epigenetics, that like our DNA, we are really the product of all of those who've gone before us on a physical level. And we have ancestral memories. It's very strange, but I really think that is I really think that that's a thing. And so when people talk about their past lives, I think maybe they're just remembering things that have happened to their ancestors. I could be wrong, but that's kind of my thoughts on that. Moving on. Where are the Sauter children? I did a short stint into researching this, and this is so heartbreaking. This is such a sad story. Wow. Unexplainable mysteries involving children are always extra chilling. George and Jenny Sauter of West Virginia were forced to cope with not only the loss of of 5 of their children, all at the same time, but also with the mysterious circumstances surrounding that loss. After the Sodders' home burned to the ground on the night before Christmas in 1945, 5 of the 10 Sodder children were still alive and accounted for. But what about the other 5? They had vanished into thin air. Notice how we don't say vanished into smoke. That's because there was zero physical evidence of the children in the ruins, virtually impossible from a scientific standpoint. And that wasn't all that was off about the night's events. Apparently, George tried to save his children, who he believed were trapped inside, by using a ladder he kept against the side of the house. But the ladder was missing. Also weird, the phone lines to the house were cut. A woman claimed to have seen all 5 missing children peering from a passing car while the fire was in progress. And a woman at a Charleston hotel said that she had seen 4 of the 5 missing kids a week after the fire. The children were accompanied by 2 women and 2 men, all of the Italian extraction, she said in a statement. I tried to talk to the children in a friendly manner, but the men appeared hostile and wouldn't allow it. The Sodder family theorized that the children had been kidnapped, perhaps in an attempt to extort money, or maybe in retaliation for George's outspoken criticism of Mussolini and Italy's fascist government. The Sodders were Italian immigrants. From the 1950s until Jenny Sodder's death in the late 1980s, the Sodder family maintained a billboard on State Route 16 with pictures of the 5 vanished children and offered a reward for information. The last known surviving Sodder child, Sylvia, died in 2021 at age 79. Up until the end, she didn't believe her siblings perished in the fire. Yeah, this was such a sad story. Yeah, the night before Christmas, your house catches on fire and 5 of your children just are gone. I think there was an attempt by the local authorities to say that those 5 children were incinerated in the fire, completely incinerated. But I mean, it's just so hard to believe. And there were so many other strange things, like their phone line was cut, his ladder was missing. I think he tried to start his cars or something like that, and both of them like didn't start. And yeah, just an unbelievable, like the Italian mafia or something like that was involved, and I think that's what they think happened. So bizarre and so crazy. And I wonder if it was 10 children, that would have been hard to get away with 10 children. But how would you even like figure that out? Like, how would you kidnap 5 children all at the same time? I don't know. It's such a sad story, and I hope that's one that gets resolved one of these days. Anyway, let's do one more story, and I'm gonna call it. We still have somebody on the live stream. I think it might be my sister. But yeah, let's do one more story, and then I'll call the live stream, and then I'll live stream again tomorrow. I'm gonna live stream every night this week. So. Oh yeah, and Walter Collins. I did a story on Walter Collins too. Maybe I was using this as an inspiration. In 2008, Clint Eastwood's film Changeling reawakened interest in one of the most bizarre and tragic crime stories of the 1920s. In March 1928, single mom Christine Collins reported her 9-year-old son, Walter, missing from their home in Los Angeles. 5 months later, the police brought Walter back to Christine, except it wasn't Walter, and Christine knew it. But the LA police dismissed Christine's concerns, going so far as to accuse her of terrible mothering and having her committed to a mental hospital. The real Walter Collins was never found, and over time, authorities came to believe that he was one of the victims of convicted child murderer Gordon Stewart Northcott, who was caught and executed in 1930. Northcott's mother confessed to killing Walter and was sentenced to life in prison. Northcott's mother confessed to killing Walter and was sentenced to life in prison. Walter's body was never found, so we don't know for sure what happened, and this case remains one of those baffling unsolved crimes. Nobody ever figured out why the police were so invested in covering up the boy's disappearance, that they brought a different child back to Christine and tried to convince her that it was her missing son. Yeah, that's so bizarre. I guess this happened in like the 1920s, like almost 1930. When you could just like get away with stuff like that, like a child goes missing and you just find somebody who, like, find a kid off the street that looks the same, and here you go. Wow. Yeah, I think it seems like Northcott did grab that child and murder him, but they never found him. And I'm just trying to remember the research I did on this when I made a little short about it. Yeah, that's such a strange one. And then accusing the mother of bad parenting because you're like, this isn't my kid. Imagine that. Imagine the police giving you a child that wasn't your own, that just looked a lot like your child. Oh my gosh. Wow. You know, I like to think that we live in a better day and age where stuff like that doesn't happen, but stuff like that still happens today. Even crazier stuff than that happens today, and it's so kind of strange. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night on the live stream. I want to thank everybody for joining the live stream. Again, my goals are to catalog all strange things ever. I'm going to create like an encyclopedia of these strange mysteries that I'm covering in my live streams. Email me your strange stories so I can read them on live streams or in other future videos. Support me on Patreon, where you can get your name in like my videos. I'm doing a series called Your Moonlit Stories. I've posted a video today, and a video is being scheduled out for tomorrow, where I'm reading stories from like personal stories that I find on the internet that are reported to be true. But eventually I want people to submit their stories to me so I can read them. Yeah, live streaming again tomorrow. I will just be continuing through this list or other lists of strange sources. Let me know what you think about all of the things. And I met my goal. My goal for this live stream was one viewer, and I got 4 at the same time. So I'm like stoked about that. Tomorrow's goal might be a little bit more. I want to just do this and just live stream every single day. But I'm going to do that every single day this week. And thank you for supporting the Moonlit Ghost. Like this video, watch all my other videos, like them, and I will see you tomorrow during tomorrow's live stream. Thank you. Have a good